Sienna Ashcroft had the world at her feet. Daughter of Australia's richest billionaire, she was known for champagne parties in Sydney, diamonds that dripped off her wrists, and a smile that lit up magazine covers. But inside she was hollow. All she wanted was him, Ethan Cole, her first love. The boy from Chicago who once kissed her under a streetlight and promised forever. But when her family forced her back to Australia years ago, Ethan's last letter never reached her. She believed he had abandoned her. He believed she had betrayed him. Now, 6 years later, she was back in the U.S., determined to win him again. Only one problem. Ethan hated the rich. He had built his entire reputation in Chicago on exposing the elite who toyed with ordinary lives. So Sienna made a reckless choice. She would hide her identity. She would be a maid in one of his luxury hotels, cleaning rooms by day, watching him from the shadows by night. If you are not subscribed to this channel, you might not hear my voice again. Now, let's proceed. The first time Sienna Ashcroft touched a toilet brush, she gagged. Twice. It was humiliating. The same hands that once signed million-dollar charity checks were now scrubbing the marble floor of the penthouse bathroom at the Cole and Crane Hotel. The irony? She designed this damn suite. The chandelier above her had been her idea, the mirrored minibar, her personal touch. But Ethan would never know that. He hadn't seen her yet, thank God. "You missed a spot," said Carmen, the floor supervisor, snapping gum like it owed her money. "That mirror still looks like someone made out with it." Sienna smiled tightly. "Maybe they did." Carmen squinted. "You Aussie girls are weird." No argument there. 6 years ago, she and Ethan had kissed in the rain on Michigan Avenue like they were invincible. Now, she was folding his towels. She glanced at the clock. 4:12 p.m. According to Carmen's gossip, Ethan was in room 714 with some venture capital vixen from New York. She shouldn't care, but she did. Too much. Ethan Cole entered the elevator like gravity bent for him. Armani, frost for eyes. That walk that said he'd fired richer men before breakfast. Sienna kept her head down, clutching a caddy of bleach like a bouquet. Cute. Romantic. Nothing screams "I've moved on" like industrial cleanser. "Ground," he said, not looking at her. The doors slid shut, the air turned expensive. His phone buzzed. "No, we're not touching Ashcroft money. I'd rather light the hotel on fire and roast marshmallows over it." A pause. "Yeah, her father too." Sienna's spine went rigid. Good to know he still hosted bonfires in her honor. He finally glanced up, studying her reflection in the gilded doors. The uniform, the sensible shoes, the face she tried to forget belonged to magazine covers. His brow knit, like a memory trying to do a prison break. "What's your name?" he asked. Her heartbeat did a drum solo. "Sarah." Smooth, easy. A lie she'd ironed so flat it almost looked true. He nodded once. "Thanks, Sarah." The doors opened. He left. She stayed. And the elevator kept her secret like a stainless steel confessional. The staff access room smelled like coffee that had given up on life. Sienna sorted lost and found tags while two suits muttered by the door. "Ashcroft sniffing around again," one said. "Cole will combust." Wonderful. Nothing like being the human equivalent of a lit match. She slipped into the quiet of the lost property closet, a cold cube of dust and secrets. Boxes lined the shelves, tagged and forgotten. One glared at her, a red file box with an old hotel logo and her pulse inside it. She cracked it open. Contracts, private letters, a photocopy of a passport she hadn't used, and there, her signature on a strategic partnership memo she'd never seen. It looked perfect, mechanically perfect, the kind of perfect only a liar or a machine could manage. Her mouth went dry. Someone had worn her name like a glove. A floorboard squeaked. She shut the box, slid it back, and pasted on the vacant Maid smile Carmen loved. If anyone asked, she was just a girl who washed other people's lipstick off crystal. Inside, the ash of 6 years flared back to flame. Rooftop party, gold light, bad decisions. Sienna borrowed Carmen's little black dress and glued on a wig made of sins. The Cole and Crane skyline glimmered like it wanted to be forgiven. Ethan stood with Victoria Lane. Cheekbones, algorithm money, soul on silent mode. Victoria touched his lapel like she was ringing a doorbell. "Relax, Ethan," Your heart isn't a crime scene. Tell that to the coroner, he said, dry. Sienna floated past with a tray she'd bribed off catering, invisible the way rich people can't be bothered to see. She felt his gaze snag on her like a hook. She didn't look up. She lifted flutes, dodged whispers, cataloged the predators in couture. A drunk hedge fund prince elbowed her tray. Glass detonated across tile. Heads turned. She ducked through the service door, pulse rabbiting. Before the door swung shut, she looked back. Ethan was staring into the dark she'd left behind, jaw tight, like the past had just RSVP'd attending. Fine, let it attend. She had better seats now. Her locker held a velvet pouch that didn't belong in fluorescent lighting. Inside lay a single diamond earring. Hers, the twin she'd lost the night before Australia swallowed her whole. The kind of memory you need tweezers to handle. A card tucked beneath. Time didn't bury everything. Some things dig back up. X. Cute. A poet with boundary issues. Sienna's laugh came out wrong. Someone wasn't just watching. Someone had access. Past, present, and the darkest corners between. She checked the ceiling camera, that little mechanical eye winking. At lunch, she sat with her back to a wall, scanning the break room's gossip-thick air. Carmen dropped into the chair opposite, gum snapping in Morse code. You look like a funeral, Carmen said. Just mourning my dignity, Sienna replied. It died trying to clean a mirror that fought back. Carmen smirked. Welcome to the club. Sienna palmed the pouch. She didn't trust Carmen, didn't trust shadows, didn't trust the breath in her lungs. But she did trust a pattern. Whoever X was, they liked theater. Fine, curtain up. The rooftop terrace smelled like damp jasmine and unasked questions. Ethan leaned on the railing, city light carving his profile into something a sculptor would charge triple for. Sienna came up quiet, the earring a cold star in her pocket. Is it true? She asked. Which truth? His voice could sand wood. That you built a personality cult out of hating people like me. He shrugged, eyes on the skyline. Some cults deserve it. Charming. She stepped closer, too angry to be scared. My father intercepted your letters. I thought you forgot me. You thought I chose diamonds over you. Spoiler, neither plot twist aged well. He finally looked at her, and for a heartbeat she saw him. Young, rain-drenched, promising forever under a streetlight that hadn't learned disappointment yet. I hate that you left, he said. I hate that you didn't burn the world to find me. Silence swelled. Somewhere below, a siren wailed like it had skin in their game. Sienna left first. Survival rule, if the ground shakes, don't wait for the building to apologize. Housekeeping rule 1. If a door's ajar, the universe is gossiping. The penthouse yawned open, all marble and restraint. Sienna stepped in to deliver towels and accidentally trespass. In Ethan's desk, photographs of her. Bondi in sunburnt joy, Paris laughing over a stolen croissant. A paparazzi shot where she looked like loneliness in couture. Not creepy, curated. Worse. Under the stack, a flight receipt, Sydney to Chicago 3 months ago. Passenger Victoria Lane. Bought through an Ashcroft shell so old it still wore diapers. Her pulse stuttered. Daddy had imported a saboteur and shrink-wrapped her in a smile. Footsteps in the hall. Sienna slid the drawer shut, rearranged her face into just a maid and her heart into just don't explode. As she left, she caught herself in the penthouse mirror, wigless, tired, stubborn. The girl who used to think of love was a ladder, the woman who now knew it was a match. She lit one. A plumbing fiasco turned the hotel into Noah's Ark. Carmen tossed Sienna a keycard. Overflow in the penthouse, try not to lick the furniture. Hilarious. Midnight. Thunder chewing the sky, power hiccuping, air chilled to emotional withholding. Sienna climbed into the left side of the ridiculous bed, staring at the ceiling mural like it owed her closure. The door clicked. Ethan, damp hair, shirt unbuttoned to contrition. Carmen, he said flatly. Apparently fate has a union. They traded insults like poker chips until the lights died and the heat with it. Practicality staged a coup. They shared the duvet, backs barely touching, both pretending the other was a rumor. At 3 a.m., lightning wrote their names on the windows. His hand found her wrist, steady, warm, maddening. We're terrible at letting go, he murmured. She didn't turn. We're worse at holding on. Sleep never came. Morning did, bringing a camera's cold eye pressed to the glass of their privacy. Someone had planned the storm. Dawn filtered through gauze curtains like it was trying not to witness anything illegal. Sienna sat at the foot of the bed, wrapped in hotel linen and regret. Ethan leaned on the window, city fog making a saint out of a sinner. You kept my pictures, she said. Translation, you kept me when I didn't keep myself. I kept what was true, he answered. Translation, I hoarded the only thing I didn't know how to ruin. She wanted to peel back the years and find the streetlight kid. Victoria came on my father's leash, she said. You knew. His jaw ticked. Knowing and liking are different sports. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was already too far gone. His eyes met hers. Into you. It should have felt like a key. It felt like a lock. A red pinprick blinked in the corner. Tiny, patient, predatory. The lens Sienna didn't see captured her reaching for Ethan. Captured his hand closing around hers. Captured 1,000 headlines condensing into a single click. They thought the night was over. X made sure it was just beginning. They tried talking. Then kissing did what words couldn't. Heat turned forgiveness into a temporary religion. Sienna let the past blur just for a little while. Ethan touched her like a vow he might finally keep. After the room smelled like rain and wreckage, she traced the scar on his shoulder. He counted freckles like a penance. Real, quiet, almost safe. What happens now? She asked the ceiling. We stop pretending, he said to the curve of her throat. About us? About everything. Brave, adorable, naive. In the hall, a USB slid beneath the door with the manners of a cockroach. On it, the proof Sienna never consented to give. The morning would wake to a sacrament of clicks, commentary, and moral panic served lukewarm. For one more hour, they didn't know. They dreamt cheap, ordinary dreams, grocery lists, and Sunday mornings. The kind of dreams two people like them never got to keep. Phones screamed them awake. The world had pulled up a chair and a magnifying glass. Headlines bloomed like bruises. Heiress in hiding, maid or maneater, Ethan Cole's secret bedfellow. Sienna watched herself pixelate into a lesson. The clip was grainy, the kind that lets strangers add whatever story flatters their outrage. She closed the laptop like it had teeth. Turn it off, she said. It doesn't turn off, Ethan replied, voice low with the kind of fury that makes men do stupid, heroic things. She laughed sharp. Right, I forgot we live in the age of permanent receipts. He paced. It's X, it has to be. Congratulations to them, she said. They just RSVP'd to our ruin. Outside, paparazzi bloomed on the sidewalk like invasive species. Inside, Sienna learned how quickly a woman becomes public property. She wrapped her arms around herself and sharpened her voice into a knife. Fine, she said. If they want a show, I'll write the script. Victoria's townhouse was white on white, the decor equivalent of pleading the Fifth. Sienna didn't knock. Ethan didn't smile. Victoria did both. Well, Victoria purred, crossing the room in silk that had never met a stain. If it isn't scandal and the ghost of good decisions. You leaked the footage, Ethan said. Please, she scoffed. If I wanted you canceled, you wouldn't trend, you'd vanish. She handed over a phone, a thread with a single contact, X. They offered me a buffet. I declined. I'm à la carte Rouen. Sienna scanned the messages. X knew room numbers, schedules, private elevator codes. Inside job, she said. Someone who sees what no one looks at. Adorable deduction, Victoria said, pouring champagne at 10 a.m. Here's another. You two still love each other. Tragic. Sienna set the flute down untouched. Enjoy your spotless life, V. I hope it keeps you warm. Victoria's smile sliced. It does, on cashmere. Sienna left with the phone and a new enemy list written in lipstick. Liam Crane met them at a bar where the cocktails came with disclaimers. He wore trouble like cologne and grinned like a cat that billed hourly. Trace it, Ethan said, sliding Victoria's phone across the table. Liam skimmed. X piggybacks hotel systems, cameras, badge logs, the works. You've got a ghost who knows where you keep the silverware. Housekeeping. Sienna said, ice sliding down her spine. Or someone who manages them. Liam's brows lifted. Carmen, HR nightmare, IT background, vendetta against anyone with a balcony. Sienna swallowed. She watched me. She knew. Get ready, Liam said, pocketing the phone. People like Carmen don't go down with a confession. They go down with a performance. Then we sell tickets, Sienna replied, mouth curving, front row. Ethan looked at her like the sun had remembered her name. She didn't look back. Love was messy. War, at least, had choreography. They found her at the loading dock, cigarette lit, posture bored, like justice was an inconvenience. Carmen took one look at the trio and smirked. Autographs after the show, she asked. Why, Sienna said, why me? Carmen exhaled smoke with the patience of a saint and the soul of a switchblade. Because girls like you never get mud on your shoes. I fixed that. You violated me, Sienna said, voice steady. You weaponized my body for a story that wasn't yours. And the audience loved it. Carmen flicked ash. You're welcome. Ethan stepped forward, fury banked. You're done. Am I? Carmen's smile didn't reach her eyes. X is bigger than one girl with a keycard. Sienna lifted her phone, thumb hovering over a call already queued to a detective who owed Liam favors. You're going to prison, Carmen. Not because you hate me. Because you built your crusade on my consent you never asked for. For the first time, Carmen's gaze stuttered. Fear, small, real, cracked through. Good, let it breathe. Arrest, mugshot, think piece. The internet fed until it got sleepy. Sienna watched it all with a predator's calm. Carmen wasn't X entirely. She was a doorway. There would be others. There were always others. Before the squad car door slammed, Carmen tossed a parting grenade. He's still lying to you. Sienna carried that sentence like a splinter. Ethan wrapped her in protection that looked a lot like penance. Security details, private elevators, whispered, I've got you. Sweet, smothering. At dinner, she toyed with a fork and a future. When I left Chicago, she said lightly, was it really my father, or did you help him pack my bags? Ethan's silence grew legs and sat at the table. There it was, the bruise under the bruise. She leaned back, smiling sharp. Thought so. He reached for her hand. She let him miss. Love revised. Want the truth, not the performance. Truth came out like a pulled tooth. Bloody, inevitable. Ethan stared at the city while he confessed. Her father's threats. His own terror. Danny. The letters that never crossed oceans. The boy who chose cowardice and called it protection. You have a brother, Sienna said, voice softer than she felt. Had. The word snapped something in the air. He told her about overdose and guilt, about funerals held in private because grief doesn't trend. She listened until anger burned down to ash. Why didn't you trust me with this then? Because I didn't think I deserved you. Congratulations, she said, standing. You got your wish. She left him with the skyline. Chicago could keep its ghosts for the night. She had flights to book and a backbone to remember. Sydney greeted her with glass and glare. The Ashcroft mansion glittered like a threat, all ocean and absence. Sienna walked through its rooms like a stranger haunting herself. Staff offered tea. She asked for whiskey. On the balcony, Bondi roared its old lullaby. She let the wind slap sense into her. Rich once meant untouchable. Now it felt like being a display, alarm-armed, soul not included. The knock came with rain. Ethan, drenched, wrecked, carrying an apology he hadn't learned to pronounce. I told myself I wouldn't chase you, he said. Turns out I'm terrible at obedience. Join the club, she said, not moving aside. They stood in the doorway, oceans between them and also not. Finally, she stepped back. Not forgiveness. Weather. He smelled like jet fuel and hope. Dangerous. They sat in her father's study, a mausoleum for good intentions. Sienna perched on the desk like a dethroned queen. Ethan took the leather chair like it might bite. Everything, she ordered. Give me the unedited cut. He did. Threats, deals, cowardice disguised as sacrifice. Nights he wrote letters he burned because hope embarrassed him. When he finished, quiet swallowed the room. Outside, waves rehearsed eternity. She crossed to him, thumb brushing the stubble at his jaw. You should have trusted me to choose the size of the fire. His eyes glossed. And if I'm still lying, if I'm still that boy? Then grow up, she said, and kissed him like a dare. It tasted like smoke and mercy, like a door not yet locked. They didn't promise anything, they just didn't run. Chicago again, because hell has great restaurants. Victoria's wedding was a cathedral of curated holiness. Sienna wore red, the color of stop signs and bad decisions, and arrived on Ethan's arm like a headline with legs. Gasps did cardio, cameras genuflected. Victoria intercepted them near the bar, smile lacquered. Security must have tripped. On taste, Sienna sipped champagne she didn't want. Tragic. Then she faced the assembled lenses. Yes, I lied, I hid. I scrubbed floors that belonged to people who'd forgotten how to look down. I did it for love. I'd do worse. She took Ethan's hand. This is mine. He kissed her like absolution or very good PR. Either way, the room detonated. Victoria's bouquet wilted on cue. By breakfast, the clip had migrated to every screen with a pulse. Think pieces divided into camps. Sienna the manipulator versus Sienna the martyr. She ignored both and made pancakes badly. Her father's voicemail arrived, ice over gasoline. You've humiliated us, come home or be cut off. She deleted it. Money had been a leash, she preferred teeth. Ethan leaned in the doorway, watching her burn a second pancake into modern art. You okay? No, she said, flipping chaos. But I'm honest, that's new. They ate charred breakfast on the floor, knees touching, future undecided. Outside, reputation bonfires raged. Inside, Sienna learned how to warm her hands without getting consumed. Fame is a carnival. You pay in privacy and ride until you vomit. Paparazzi colonized the lobby. Guests complained about the heiress ambiance. Investors politely panicked. Staff divided into Team Sienna and Team I-Roll. Sienna tried jokes. Shall I sign your mop? Carmen's old crew didn't laugh. She tried charity. No one wants redemption from the girl who started the fire. At night, cracks appeared. She and Ethan weaponized silence, then words, then silence again. Maybe my father was right, she said once, instantly hating herself. Maybe we were an expensive mistake. Ethan went still. Don't make me him. They slept back to back. The bed and ocean they refused to swim. Morning found them anyway. Liam's leak landed like glitter and shrapnel. Vintage photos of Sienna drowned in champagne, laughing with men who didn't know her name. The internet loves a villain with good lighting. Ethan defended her online until his thumbs went numb. She watched, equal parts grateful and annoyed. Stop bleeding for me on the timeline, she said. They came for a show, not a sermon. He threw his phone down. Then what do you want? She said, not them. They made love like a ceasefire. It didn't fix what morning would break again. Some nights are only bridges. You still have to cross. The fight that broke the glass started small. Dishes, doors, dignity. It ended with Sienna barefoot by the lake, cold gnawing her ankles, considering the mercy of numbness. She lit a cigarette she didn't want and coughed like honesty. Congrats, Ashcroft, she muttered to the water. You finally became a headline you hate. Ethan found her with panic for eyes. Don't disappear, he said, voice stripped. I don't survive that version. She flicked the cigarette into the dark, then stopped giving me vanishing points. They didn't fix it. They didn't know how. But they walked home together, which is a kind of miracle most people don't recognize when it's happening. They aborted Chicago like a bad plan. New Orleans took them in with brass bands and powdered sugar forgiveness. They rented a loft above a jazz club where the plumbing sang, and nobody cared who they were unless they tipped. Sienna waited tables and learned to like sticky floors. Ethan played piano on Thursdays, the kind of mournful that makes strangers fall a little in love and leave bigger bills. They built small habits, late beignets, early honesty. The quiet felt risky, so did happiness. One night on the fire escape, Sienna said, "If we fail here, it's nobody's fault but ours." Ethan squeezed her hand. Perfect, I'm tired of ghosts getting credit. Ghosts don't need invitations. Her father's calls returned, wrapped in threat. Victoria haunted magazines with a detox smile. Liam texted from yachts, a devil with good reception. Even Carmen's name surfaced in think pieces about privacy and punishment. Sienna woke from dreams where cameras grew legs. She'd press her ear to Ethan's chest, counting proof of life. Still here, he'd murmur. Promise? Promise. Promises are bridges, too. They hold until they don't. She chose to step on them anyway. The letter arrived like a time traveler, creased, salt-stained. Addressed in blocky handwriting she now knew by bone. Danny's. Postmarked before he died. He never stopped writing. Sienna read it aloud. Ethan cried the way men do when they think they forgot how. She held him while the past unclenched. Forgiveness didn't knock it out of the park. It burned, it moved a runner, it kept the inning alive. Sometimes that's enough. They opened a small hotel with crooked floors and perfect light. Women ran it. Maids who became managers, receptionists who learned books, survivors who knew hospitality is just another word for witness. Sienna scrubbed sinks the first day and cried into a hand towel no one would invoice. Ethan tuned the lobby piano and didn't perform unless begged. Guests came for something money can't fake, the relief of being seen and not sold. At closing, Sienna counted cash that barely paid the bills and felt richer than she'd ever been. Ethan kissed her knuckles, grease and all. Look at us, he whispered, finally building instead of burning. Give it time, she said, smiling. I contain multitudes. Chicago again, on purpose this time. They walked to the street where a boy once promised forever to a girl who didn't yet know the price of it. The lamplight was less romantic, more honest. Do you ever wish we'd never met? Sienna asked, not because she did, but because curiosity likes bruises. Every day, Ethan said softly, and never once. They kissed under the light, no witnesses, no proof. Just two people finally small enough to fit inside their own lives. It was ordinary, it was holy. Her father died as he lived, powerful, controlled, dissatisfied. The will mentioned her like a footnote. Tabloids mourned a dynasty while inventing her demise. Sienna took the ashes to the sea. Ethan held her hand as she opened the urn and let the wind decide its sermon. Goodbye, she said. Not I forgive you, not I love you, just goodbye. They walked back barefoot. The sand didn't care who they were. Freedom often looks like nothing from far away. Up close, it's breathtaking. Malibu at sunset. No planner, no pews, no press. Sienna wore a slip dress the color of melting cream. Ethan wore a shirt he didn't mind wrinkling. Vows stayed small on purpose. I won't promise perfect, he said. I promise honest. I won't promise forever, she answered, smiling. I promise today and tomorrow if we earn it. They kissed. The ocean applauded on a loop. Somewhere a camera failed to find them and moved on. Later, they ate wedding cake with their fingers and fell asleep with sand in the sheets and nothing to prove. Sienna Ashcroft, once hollow, felt full enough to be ordinary, which after everything felt like the richest thing she'd ever owned. If this story moved you, share it with someone and subscribe for more stories. Maybe your 5 minutes of listening will impact a life, possibly your own.